Tonight's Park Board meeting, Mandan Park District Board meeting. Today is February 10th, 2025. We'll call it to order. Commissioner Mutter is not with us tonight. Any addition? Tough time talking this afternoon, evening, whatever it is. Additions or deletions to the agenda, Cole? Okay. Public communication from visitors. We have Dennis and Bill here to talk about our MOU item 1, so I'll close that portion of the meeting. Moving on to approval of minutes of the January 13th, 2025 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 13th, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Freilich, second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 1, consider for approval memorandum of understanding between the Lower Heart Water Resource District and the Mandan Park District for levee improvements at the municipal golf course. Cole.
President Meschke and Commissioners, so before you is the MOU that Attorney Ruff have drafted. It's been shared with Park District staff along with Lower Heart and HDR, their representative, to review. As you know, there was a last-minute addition that was added in there. It's your second page of your MOU, basically a carbon copy of the front page with some minor recommendations. I will have Arlen Ruff, or our Attorney Ruff, go through them in a moment. But overall, as you kind of can see, the highlights that in the original agreement really just touch on detailing the repairs to hole number 4 and exactly who's responsible for repairs, and obviously given the 15-foot permanent easement. And then obviously there's a discussion that Lower Heart brought forward that the actual levee itself does not have an easement. When it was put in way back in, we don't even know, the 20s, 30s, 40s, I'm not exactly sure when that levee went through. It was just worked upon with the city, I'm assuming, in the Park District back then to be able to put a levee in to protect the city, and no easement was set aside for that. So that's the additional item that they're requesting. In addition to that, we as the Park District are requesting that there is an easement for us to be able to have our line through the levee along with our electrical needs, and that'll be put into the abstract when we get to that. We'll be able to detail what those access points would be from that. And then as far as the only concern that we have would be the construction of the new green. In 2025, discussions have been held that we would like to construct a green between number 6 green and number 7 tee box. Is that the right area? Yeah. So we have some open space there that we'd like to construct a new green. And then when hole number 4 is impacted, we can use that new green as our 9-hole kind of a temporary replacement until 4 is completed. The only downside is that you can see in your packet there was an email from Dennis Reap in regards to what we would have to do to start that in 2025. Yes, there is a statement that says it's believed that it would be eligible for state cost share, and that these precedents from other projects with similar mitigation efforts. Garrett Schultz is developing those cost estimates as we speak. He's working on that, and then we will submit that in for a standalone application. The concern would be is if we don't get funded, the Park District would be out for those expenses. So there is a little bit of risk associated with us by doing it in 25. If we do not do it in 25, we wait till 26 when hopefully Lower Heart is able to start their project, or it potentially could be 27 depending on core permits and all the approvals. We'd have to wait till then. Doesn't really help the Park District out in operations of a golf course because we wouldn't have the green completed at that time. We're estimating that golf course, or excuse me, that green to be in that 25 to 35,000 range. We're working on fine tuning the numbers. Again, staff will do that internally to construct it, but we would have to purchase all of the amenities needed to expand and construct a golf hole.
You said 25 to 35?
Is the estimate.
Yeah.
So I guess if there's
it does say state cost share. Do we know percentage? What that like 50% or what is that?
Yeah, the project's cost shared at 60%, so it would be 60%.
60.
Yep.
Okay.
So then I guess the question would be back for Dennis: if it's 60% cost share, is that 40% reimbursable through Lower Heart? I think my assumption is yes.
And Garrett, you're saying you'll submit it by the end of April and hopefully know in June. Is that correct?
As far as cost estimates,
Yeah.
I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks I'll have that completed.
And then you submit the application? Is that, or does that?
That I'm not aware of.
Chairman Mischke, I think the Lower Hart would submit it on behalf of the golf course to the North Dakota State Water Commission, and April 28th is the deadline. June 12th is when they would actually consider it.
Okay.
So you wouldn't have an answer, final answer until
And
June.
it can't be submitted any sooner then? I mean, that's,
They do have one deadline of February 24th, so there is that option if get her ducks in a row.
well, Garrett?
I wouldn't completely rule that out. I'm just waiting on a few numbers, so I'll push some salespeople and some contractors on that and make every attempt to finalize that by then.
I think it makes our decision, well, easier to move forward with it at an earlier time, I guess, but.
Sure, understood.
So I think I guess we're not making this isn't part of the MOU, but I guess as a board hoping we can get those numbers sooner, so
Yeah,
so
there's
we know what to play with. We know what we're playing with and what.
so there's some T's to cross and I's to dot.
Yeah.
They actually have changed their policy where you have to have a board action before submittal, and so I think the Lower Hart would have to have minutes saying we approve you submitting this cost share request to the North Dakota State Water Commission. So they don't meet until the 25th again, so they'd have to hold a special meeting, which,
Okay.
but
Okay. Any questions for Dennis or Garrett about the green? Roughly the size of the green that's there now, Garrett, or
So for this temporary green in between 6 tee box and 7 green, I think I can fit about 3,000 to 3,500 square feet in there, which would be smaller than an average green. It's similar to the size of Muni greens, or very close to the new youth putting green that we built over at Prairie West. So the other thing that I would add about that temporary green is we're using the term temporary because it would be the alternate 9th hole during the construction of the toe trench, but it would have a long-term benefit to us because we don't have an extra green or a nursery green over at Mandan Municipal. So that would continue to benefit our operations after the year of use as an alternate hole.
okay. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay, and then we have an MOU and then drafted, and then we also have some recommendations there. Attorney Ruff, did you have a chance to go through this? I know we didn't approve it last time before.
Yeah, I drafted it, and then it was submitted to Cole and then to Lower Hart. The red line changes on the draft there were incorporated in from some of the comments from Lower Hart, and then they came back with just a few other what I consider to be minor verbiage additions or changes to. I think they're all incorporated on the first page, and I will incorporate those in. That won't change the intent of the agreement at all. Just add some clarification to it. And I think it's fine. I think both organizations, the Park District and Lower Hart, were on the same page as to what's going to be done there. The easements for the tow trench, the levee itself, those can't be drafted or finalized until we actually have a survey of where we're at with that. And then once that survey is in place, then using that and incorporating that into the easements will drop at that time.
Yeah, I did talk to Commissioner Mutter earlier today, or I guess through text, just asking him about if he had questions on it. I think one of it does answer about who is mowing and applying the herbicide, so on. I think that was one of them. I would assume the fence that's put up, the split fence, that's the responsibility of Lower Hart to keep up to date. And then he brought up too, and I think he's brought up this before, he's really concerned about the safety. And I know you guys explored looking at maybe moving holes 1 and 2 to the park area, and how much that is. Is it big enough to do that? I think his concern was crossing the highway with the golfers. Was that discussed at all? We're talking, that's pretty significant if we went, obviously, moved everything and flip-flopped it.
Yeah, so the conceptual drawings that we had done looked at moving holes 1 and 2 to where the park is and taking everything on the park side and moving them over to holes 1 and 2. And that would mean repurposing the multipurpose building that we have for rentals today. In a perfect world, that would make sense if costs weren't an issue. For us to switch holes 1 and 2 in the park, we're looking at about $4.5 million of park district funds to make that happen. That wouldn't be reimbursable through what we're talking about here. So if money wasn't an option and we had the idea, yeah, it's not ideal crossing the road from the parking lot to the clubhouse, to cross the road to tee off on 1 and 2, cross the highway to holes 3 through 9, complete year round and do the same thing over again. So I understand his concerns. We've been operating this way for many years. We're having our 100-year anniversary this year. If we were to do anything in the future where there was a street improvement project, it would be nice to maybe have a tunnel that goes underneath there, like you see at many golf courses for safety. I don't know when that would be done, because I know DOT did some street improvement projects. Was that about 8 to 10 years ago, Garrett? I can't remember.
I think it was only 4 years ago or so.
And I just did like mill overlay and some striping.
On the highway there?
Yeah. So I understand Commissioner Mutter's thoughts. If I had $4.5 million, I think we would be doing other projects in this district that we would want to utilize that at. You know, whether it's indoor pool needs or other expansions of existing facilities for space. But I think the long-term solution does not make sense at this time to move holes 1 and 2 due to the financial burden to the park district.
Plus, we still have a clubhouse on the other side
And maintenance.
in the maintenance. Commissioner Mutter and I had that conversation during the State of the Cities breakfast while we were waiting for it to start, and I voiced the same concerns that Cole did to Lane, and I think he understands our side of the story too. One should never assume that there's not going to be accidents happen, but at this point, I don't know of historically of any accidents that have happened, and so you're trying to avoid something that's never happened, basically. And there's lighting, well lit areas, and that sort of thing already there. So, and pedestrian cost. I think there's lights there. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Okay. Any questions on the MOU? Comments on the proposed additions, I guess? Okay, if not, can we look to approve?
Cole,
Change
just
with those changes.
President Meshke and Cole, do we need two separate motions now with the trying to get Garrett to move that forward, and that way we'd have to have approval for Lower Hart to.
Yeah, so I think the first motion, or it could be two, but the motion would be to approve the MOU as presented with the additional items being added, and then to direct Lower Hart Water Resource District to apply for North Dakota State Water Commission for the 25 construction of the new green.
Okay.
Sound correct, Dennis and Bill?
Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to
Is that
say.
a motion?
That is a motion.
All right, we have a motion.
Rather than
Motion
repeating
by
that.
Commissioner Stott with Cole's help. And do we have a second? Okay, a second by Commissioner Melhoff. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
Sorry, I was taking notes there. Commissioner Melhoff, you made the second?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. All right, we'll move on to item number 2, consider for approval the 2025 matching grant requests. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, President Meshke and Commissioners. In your board packet, you will find 5 matching grant applications. The Mandan Park Board Foundation Board reviewed and provided recommendations on the grants that they would provide funding to. So with that being said, they recommended providing funding to Dakota Star Gymnastics in the amount of $2,500, Mandan Soccer Club in the amount of $2,500, and Mandan Horse and Saddle Club in the amount of $2,000. And I am here today to ask for your recommendations or your approval.
Can we get a motion to approve foundation monies for matching grant.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommend awarding the matching grant to Mandan Soccer Club in the amount of $2,500, Dakota Star Gymnastics in the amount of $2,500, and Mandan Horse and Saddle Project 2 in the amount of $2,000.
Motion by Commissioner Freilich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Milhoff. Any further discussion? Just one question, Kelly. There's a couple that did not receive any. Do you reach out to them and tell them maybe the reasons why and what future?
Yep, the plan will be
matching
to
grants
email
to-
them right
Okay.
away in the morning and just let them know and encourage them to apply again in July. That will be available until the end of June, so we still will have 3,000 for them to apply.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we will take a roll vote. Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Commissioner Milhoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Freilich.
Aye.
Yes, from me as well. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 3, consider for approval the following. We have 2024 budget amendments, and then following that will be our budget and cash transfers. Hi, Terry.
Hi, good evening, President Meshke and Commissioners. I have 3 separate transfers and/or budget amendments I would like to bring before you tonight for approval. And in your board pack, you will have received a schedule with the actual dollar amounts and general ledger accounts that are affected. So the first one is a cash transfer. And we're proposing a transfer of $500,000 from the general fund, specifically surplus funds from the previous golf season during 2024. And this would go towards the Prairie West Maintenance Shop building that's in the process of being planned for construction. And if you recall, we've been setting aside funds in our vision funds towards this project in order to reduce the amount of financing that we'll need for the completion of it. And so far, we've transferred $514,000 into the vision fund, and we've spent just a little bit, $38,000 approximately, on initial design costs. And now we're recommending an additional $500,000 being transferred over. The fiscal impact of this would be just to help reduce the amount of financing costs and interest associated with that towards this project. The second item on our request is budget amendments. And as you recall, whenever we exceed our budget in expenditures for the fiscal year, we ask for your approval. And at the fund level, we had excess expenditures in the general fund of $140,000 and in Raging Rivers Fund of $90,000. And both of these situations were due to actually especially busy seasons at our golf course and our Raging Rivers Water Park. And because of the activity at these facilities, there's increased costs, but along with that, of course, is offsetting revenue to support the costs. So there's no negative fiscal impact on these. We just need a amendment in the budget to recognize the extra expense. And then the other fund is the Capital Improvement Fund, and we exceeded the budgeted appropriations by $26,757 in that fund. And again, we had offsetting revenue, a $72,000 grant from the Land and Water grant from the state that helped enable us to spend a little bit more towards the Legion Park improvements. So those are the proposed budget amendments. And then finally, I have proposed budget transfers. And what this is 2 projects at the end of 2024 that we have budgeted for, but we're not completed yet. We're just asking a transfer of the remaining budgeted costs and associated funding revenue to be moved from 24 into the 2025 budget. And so for the Youth Baseball Complex project, there is approximately $429,570 remaining in the construction costs there. And in the boat ramp project, there is still $273,000 remaining that has been approved towards that project. So just transferring from one year to the next, no fiscal impact on that as well. So I am asking tonight for your approval of these budget and cash transfers as presented, and I will answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Terry. Any questions for Terry? It's always nice when we need to order more French fries at Raging Rivers because we sold all the ones that we thought we were going to. So
That's right.
That's the way I look at it, so. Okay, can we entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 budget amendments and transfers as presented by Terry.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Melhoff,
Second.
second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Item number 4, approval of monthly bills.
I'll make a motion to approve payment of our monthly bills.
Motion by Commissioner Melhoff,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Freilich. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Commissioner staff reports. Cole, anything else?
Yep. President Meskey and Commissioners, just so you know, next month we will be presenting our annual report for the Park District. We went through it a little bit here this morning, got to fine tune a little bit, but we'll present that in March. That will be emailed out to you in advance. The boat ramp, just an update on that. The concrete abutments should be starting here in the next 30 days. They'll start unthawing the ground. And then the bridge for the pedestrian that connects the north and south parts of those property, that has been in fabrication. We're hoping that will be delivered by the end of April. Installation starting by May 1st. As you know, our grant is the $800,000 grant expires by May of 31 of 25. We don't foresee any issues related to that. We do have the ability to add an extension if for some reason there's some fabrication or some delays in construction delivered, but it is getting constructed it's 93 feet long, getting constructed out of a steel business out of Fargo, and then they will transport that here. We're making parameters on how we're going to make the corners and things of that nature to be able to back into that facility. We have a crane land up, so it's looking like it's going to be moving forward rather quickly. Portfolio meetings, I know staff and managers have been reaching out to commissioners. We are going to have our spring portfolio meetings, so once we get those dates set, we'll go through, obviously, year-end for 24 financials, and then we'll go through 25 capital items, and then as far as anything that's happening in the spring, as far as updates on that. And then the last item that we will be bringing before you in April is we've been working with the City of Mandan and Andrew Strami directly. The city has been doing a good job of updating all their ordinances and codes. And part of that is the green space ordinance with the Park District. We've been part of the discussions. There are some future meetings lined up with contractors in regards to a 5 and 7% dedication for green space for Park Districts moving forward in lieu of a fee. And then if we don't need the green space as far as a percentage of that acreage, then we would be able to take a fee at that time, and it would be dedicated and set aside for future improvements for parks associated with that. So that will come before you in April is what we're looking at, and that's all I have for my report.
Okay, thank you, Cole. Kelly?
As you're aware, we opened up Summer Mac to 2 sites in 2025. We went through our entire wait list, so we are currently at 270 kids, so we still have 30 spots available. So I encourage you, if you need daycare, to call our office tomorrow and call Sierra directly, and we can get you registered.
Thank you. Terry? Garrett?
Commissioners, the new leased golf cart fleet is set to be delivered March 10th, so we'll be ready for the season. And if we'd somehow get really lucky and be open before that, we have some carts set aside that they would help us out with some rentals. So I hope that's a problem we run into, but we'll be good to go for the season on carts. And then the open winter without much snow has allowed us to do some pond renovations on number 12. So we've taken some efforts to deepen that pond on the green side and fill in more on the tee box side and make that more of a water feature rather than cattails, and just clean up the aesthetics and the function of it a little bit. So we've made good progress on that, and I anticipate being done before the season on that with some growing left to do. So.
Thank you, Garrett. Attorney Ruff? Commissioner Freilich? Commissioner
No
Melhoff?
report from me.
And Commissioner Scott?
No report.
All right. With that, future meeting dates for Park Board Commissioners on March 6th, admin portfolio meeting, that's actually been changed to 8 a.m. at the Park Administrative Office. And then our next regular board meeting will be here on March 10th at 5:30. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Melhoff,
Second.
second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.